NRI, non-resident Indian, or not really Indian. Swadesh, Swa meaning self, Desh meaning country. One owns country. And yet, I fought many battles to claim my Swadesh. As a child, I felt embarrassed being Indian. The American films I watched exaggerated and ridiculed an accent that sounded oddly similar to those of my relatives back home. I didn't tell this to any of my friends, of course. At school, I learned how to compensate for the color of my skin with an imported accent I'd acquired along the way. If being Indian was not cool, I would do anything in my power to disavow it, to reject my identity, to detach myself from the burden of my roots. And yet, it followed me. In my home, where my immigrant parents only responded to my English with Hindi. Apni bhasha nahi bhul sakte, my mother would say. She would sit me down every day, against my will, to teach me a language that I was ashamed of. I also went to Sunday school, where we learned Vedic shlokas and deconstructed the Gita, our holy book. As for Bollywood, my brother would pirate the latest Indian films because no cinema would be screening films from our subcontinent. My Indian history classes were with my mother, where I memorized the Mughal lineage and watched Attenborough's Gandhi 3 times. My political views were shaped by the backdrop of NDTV debates that I would hear from my room while studying European history for school. It took time and maturity to reclaim my Indianness, to grow into my skin, literally. But the battle had just begun. It was no longer with myself, but with the world around me. Now I had to prove my Indianness. Reading and writing my mother tongue wasn't enough because I still spoke with an accent. Spending months researching and teaching myself the history of our country wasn't enough because I'd never taken Indian history in high school. Actively following the politics of our country wasn't enough because I wasn't there to live it. But I felt it. It hurt me, it took my sleep at night. I wanted to be there on the streets, marching and protesting, but I was 1,000 miles away. And no article I write or repost I make can change my sheer amount of distance from you, but I am there. My heart bleeds for Kashmir, for Shaheen Bagh, and for all the violence that has ensued. Being a third culture kid gives you the leeway to identify as neither this nor that. But I choose to identify as Indian. Being Indian is enough for me, but am I enough for you? Non-resident Indian, or not really Indian? I don't know.